Well, hello Peter, here we are once again.
Hello, Sean. Good to be with you.
Good to be with everybody.
Good to be with everyone.
It's a wonderful world we live in.
It is.
Sweet romantic play. Oh, that's a song, isn't it? Last time we spoke, we were talking about Star Trek, with something close to your heart, and you mentioned a couple of the starships, the types of starships. So, you want to just talk to us a little bit about those?
Well, the principal starship that generated the interest in Star Trek with Captain Picard in The Next Generation was a Galaxy-class starship, which would hold about a complement of over 1,000 people, 1,000 crew members. But the Voyager episode, where the Voyager ship was flung across the galaxy to the Delta Quadrant, 70 years travelling away from home, it was a Intrepid class starship. It wasn't meant for that sort of deep space research and travel, and it only had a complement of 153 people. So Voyager had to make its way back over something like 70,000 light years back to Earth, which would have taken 60 to 70 years. And consequently, the Intrepid class ship, they needed to trade and develop alliances with communities and alien civilizations as they made their way back across the galaxy from the Delta Quadrant to our Alpha Quadrant.
Right. So, it's just, from what you're telling me, from what it sounds like, the Galaxy class, that was like 1,000 people. So, serious management task with 1,000 people trying to keep this ship going.
Well, yes, but with someone like Jean-Luc Picard in charge, never an issue. It, in fact, did travel to the Delta Quadrant in one episode. Those Trekkies who remember Q, the omnipotent being, flung the Galaxy spaceship into the Delta Quadrant because Jean-Luc would not allow Q to become part of his crew. So,
well, he already had 1,000.
The Q continuum, he flung the ship across into the Delta Quadrant, and that was the episode where the Borg were first introduced into the series. And then he brought the spaceship, he flung it back with his omnipotent powers into the Alpha Quadrant. But those famous words were, the Borg know you're here now, they'll come looking for you.
And so what's the Borg about? You just explain them.
Well, the Borg, this imaginary civilization, of course, based in the Delta Quadrant, whose philosophy was to assimilate civilizations and assimilate the individuals to develop their perfection. They didn't really bother with civilizations that were backward because that didn't improve their status. But they generally assimilated other species, and they're trying to assimilate humanity and turn them into these drone-looking characters with very strange add-on eyepieces and biotechnic outfits.
Sort of like Apple, then.
Probably, yes. But in one what I thought was in Voyager was the defining moment, the Borg encountered the species 8472, which was they were in fact the most advanced form of organic bio creature, and their spaceships were bio ships. And the Borg could not defeat species 8472. And this is where Voyager and Captain Janeway got into this sort of alliance with the Borg to develop nanoprobes, which did get into the species 8472 and scared the hell out of them. And they retreated to their domain, which was something called Fluidic Space.
Wow. Fluidic Space?
Yes.
Well, where is that?
Well, it was in another dimension. They had to open special holes in the space-time continuum to get through to Fluidic Space. And I mean, this is all imaginary.
Is it?
Well,
surely.
well, we
surely
hope.
it's all real.
But anyway, I think the writers of Star Trek, both the Next Generation and Voyager, were really quite clever with the interesting storylines. It's a shame some of these writers weren't used to write the storylines for the big movies that they're making now. They've rebooted the Star Trek series with Kirk. And it's a pity they don't use some of these writers to come up with some of these ingenious storylines that they used in Voyager and the Next Generation.
But you touched on an interesting point about the Star Trek, the fact that you've got the Borg, and they appeared in different of the series, didn't they? And also Picard appeared with the other ones. There was a bit of a crossover, as there was with the earlier, the Spocks and
Yes.
Captain Kirks and so forth, who appeared together with Picard in later movies and so forth. So the people who are, you know, behind the brand, as it were, the Star Trek brand, obviously really concerned to ensure that the fans are kept fairly happy. That you know, there's that consistency across the.
Well, it's interesting. Voyager did have Picard himself never appeared in any of the Voyager episodes, but his number one, Commander Riker, did, and the Councillor Troy appeared in a few episodes of Voyager, and so did the character that LeVar Burton played with the false eyes on his. Can't think of his name. Geordie, that's the one. He appeared in a couple of the Voyager episodes as well. So there was this crossover, and in fact, that for me forgettable series Deep Space Nine had a bit of a
stay
where they boldly stayed and never went anywhere. They had a little bit of a crossover as well of some of the Next Generation characters. Voyager started off, in fact, the Voyager series started off in Deep Space Nine. That's the very first episode. And they went chasing the Maquis into the so-called Badlands where the Cardassians ruled. And that's when they were picked up and flung thousands and thousands of light years into the Delta Quadrant.
Wow.
And they never saw Deep Space Nine again, and they never missed anything.
Well, it's certainly a deep well of knowledge and interest with the Star Trek series, and I think the thing that you've sort of laid out there is that the owners of the brand have really looked after it. Well, thanks, Peter, for joining me with that. Nick, what shall we talk about next time?
Well,
What's another of your great passions?
oh, they're limitless.
Cars, I think.
Cars.
Maybe we'll talk about cars next time. And not the cartoons.
Not the cartoons.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.